Greetings and welcome all to another segment of Let's Talk and Grow with Ms Roshumba. And I'm sitting in a unique place, but I'll elaborate in a moment. So first, I want to give thanks to the Almighty Creator, for which all is and forever will be. Tribute to my good friend, Mr. Early Laverne, an ancestor of several years now. It is in his honor that I do this show, because of his riveting story and of his life, and a reminder that we all have a story to tell, and we are the star of our story. So when we choose to tell our story, not only does it uplift us, but our hope is that it benefits others. So, I'm in a beautiful park. As you can see, nature behind me. It's a very big fig tree, the roots. You may hear birds chirping above. You may hear chickens crowing around us. We're out in nature, in the motherland, Africa, Ghana. So I begin today, I know you see my guest sitting here. I will certainly, in a short moment, introduce him to you. But as I always do, I start off with a poem by Mr. Early Laverne. The poem I chose today is called Life, Love, Peace, and Art. There are qualities that live in my heart. Yes, life, love, peace, and art. Such remarkable values do strengthen the soul. They far exceed all which I have been told. Daily I try to pursue what is simple and best. Successfully speaking, I'm truly blessed. I know my many gifts are indeed profound. Endless measures of talents shall forever be around. I honestly wish to inspire the honest truth in all that I think, say, and do. No one needs to result towards any evil tactics. To me, your mind is beautifully fantastic. To have experienced many miracles before, perhaps something wonderful awaits me on the other shores. I'm ever inspired to make a refreshing start, embracing life, love, peace, and art. My life isn't by chance or by a flip of a coin. Perhaps you understand my concern. My mind is being trained to reach far as a star. It doesn't matter how far. My primary interests are life, love, peace, and art. Overall, we must all fulfill our part. Asheo. That's the clever playing of words of Mr. Early Laverne, who is a poet, and so am I, as you know it. Now I'm going to turn my attention to my guest. My guest is Tete, and I met him about a week and a half ago. I can't say that I know too much the details of his life. That's what he will elaborate with you. But I was impressed with him because he's an artist. And his art, I will hope to one day let you see it as I wear it. So with that said, I'm gonna just kind of go to my cheat sheet.
Okay.
And just start to ask a little bit about you.
Okay.
Tete, choose. If you choose to just go by Tete, I'm okay with that too.
My name. What am I called? What am I called? Well, I'm called Tete, but I love to go by Nyakpe Munyu.
Nyakpe Munyu.
Nyakpe Munyu.
Okay.
Nyakpe Munyu, it's from the Dangbe people of Ghana, and it translates as a wonderful story. And all the synonyms that you can attribute to a wonderful story. So in there you have miracle, you have mystical, you have awesome, you have so many things, and that's who I am. Yeah.
And that is probably why I was able to say, you know, I really connected to him. because his inspiration and his energy just flew. He was not pretentious in any way. So thank you so much for telling me that. Now, what tribe are you from? Elaborate the tribe and so forth, if you may.
Well, when I'm asked all the time, I'd love to say that I'm African, Ghanaian, and Aga.
And Aga.
And Aga.
Okay.
From the south of Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The south of Ghana, is that
on the coast?
On the coast.
Yes,
like
on the
Accra?
coast. Accra, from Accra all the way to Adan.
Okay.
From Accra all the way to Adan. Yeah, on the coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as I break things down and ask you questions, it's okay if you choose to elaborate, which I know you will. I met you because I was told that you're one of the master designers and seamsters in our in your community. Have you been doing that for a while? Tell me, elaborate on that.
Okay, so when I'm asked what I do,
Yes.
to talk about my work,
Yes.
I tend to identify with a word that isn't direct, that we don't directly have a term for in English, and it's couturier.
Couturier.
Couturier. Couturier is the person that designs and sews for a client according to the client's specific requirements. So when we say the client's specific requirements, it is sometimes the client knowing what they want,
Right.
and most of the time me knowing, discerning from their personality what is good, personality and body type, what is good for the
Okay.
client. So it's from that place of really understanding the person you need to be working for and doing for them what would bring out the best in them or will make them feel their most self. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
And the word is called what again?
couturier.
Couturier.
It's a French word. And made clothes.
Ah.
Yeah, clothes that are made from a high end for a specific clientele. For a specific clientele. And basically because my work is for a specific clientele, that's why it fits that well into the description. That description fits me that well. I don't do ready to wear because I like my things to be based on a person's body and personality.
It seems like here in Africa, the average age is about 19, 20. It's a very young population. I've read predominantly throughout the continent, but I could see specifically here in Ghana.
Yeah.
Would you agree with the indication of the average, the age being 19 to 20 years old? Is that the average age, would you say? The largest of the population, if you were to balance it out, the average age is between 19 and 20? So young.
Maybe we broaden it a little bit
Okay.
from 19 to 25.
Okay.
Yes, because
That's the largest group.
yes.
Not just in Ghana, but throughout Africa as a whole, is what I've understood.
Yeah. But I don't quite understand
What the implications of that?
implications of that is. Are we looking at that in the lens of moving forward from where we are, or in general, what we made of, what we stand for, and the stuff like that?
Yeah, well, if the largest of population is between 19 and say 25, you know, that becomes almost like the backbone of the country, because then everything normally is driven by that group, or should be, because
should be. I'll take should be, but not driven. As it stands.
Yeah, maybe not driven, but the effects of that group will be seen and felt because they are the largest group. And so my question would be, what's the implication to a country that is still evolving from where it's been as a colonized country some 65 years ago? And because maybe, I don't know if it's been like that before, that the majority was so young. And anywhere you have a young population, the mindset, you know, the workforce, you know, the leadership, they will have to take note at some time or another. So I don't know if you've given that a thought, to the power that exists in that group of people.
This is a very sad question for me. And it is sad because the reality is that these people don't have a voice.
The young people.
The young people don't have a voice.
Okay.
It's the older people. It's people above 60, sadly, that has the voice.
Okay.
And so you say all you want to say, you do all you want to do, and it doesn't go anywhere.
Okay.
And so this feels sad, actually. But the fact that we have a population of young people, and ideally, in an ideal situation, it is the young people that needs to drive the country.
Right.
It is not our story.
Okay. And maybe it is not your story now because it's maybe considered a new phenomenon that this is occurring. But one thing we must say about age, they go first. And so that's why I asked what the implication would be and what could it be if in a realistic world, but you see it as basically nothing happening from that. Because when I see you and hear you talk, and when you tell me, through your essay, what your vision came to you is about, that has implications to a country if there are others like that. Are you college degreed by chance, or are you self-taught, or?
Self-taught, I would
You're
say.
self-taught.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
Through conversations.
through
with people.
conversation.
Yeah, older people.
Okay. So older people. Okay. So you're actually connecting the dots. There's a forcefulness of the youth, of the energy, and the mindset when things aren't going right. The population. Do you know the total number of population in
About
Ghana?
31 million.
31. That's a large group. Yeah. Where in Nigeria is 200 and something million. Whoa. So, I would like, if you would, to read that essay you wrote. Are you prepared to do it now, or because audience, I'm here in Ghana, and not long ago, about a week ago, Monday, I traveled to the slave dungeon called Elmina. And then from there we went on to the Slave River, and that had significance, meaning to me as a return to Africa individual. Because this was my second time going to one, and so my friend and I, my hostess that is taking care of me while I'm here. We went and spoke to this gentleman about it, and at the time he came up. He said he had a premonition late night, let's say that spirit kind of guided him to write this essay that he's about to read. So if you would, Tete, please read that to us, and we could go from there.
So for a period, I've been really living in the heart, doing a lot of thinking.
Living in the heart.
In the heart.
In the heart, okay? He has an accent, so I will elaborate from time to time. Okay.
Living in the heart, and in the head.
In the heart
Both.
and the head. Both.
And it sends me down a lot of thoughts, introspections, feelings, emotions, stuff, a lot of things.
Yes.
And anytime they come up, I try to put them down in writing. And so this came. And it came because within this past 2 weeks, I've been meeting people and having conversations. And the one thing that comes up is the nature of the African, the behavior of the Ghanaian, in the way that it really doesn't serve the greater good of the African people or the Ghanaian in general. And this is bordering to the extent that I'm losing the hope that I had in my people.
Okay.
And so when the hope in my people got questioned, then I had to find out what that hope was, where it came from, how I came about that hope in the beginning, and why it's being shaken. And coupled with the conversations that we were having, that's how come this came up.
Okay.
And so it started with that one question, which also sounds like a statement, because I really don't know where it came from. And so he said, what happened to the African? In a fair world, with honest people, exchange is not robbery. Wondering how one must navigate the history of colonization and the very sensitive terms, slavery and slave trade, taking your place by the fence. And usually when I write, should I do that? Elaborating
yes,
on the parts?
Please do.
Usually when I write, one sentence can have in it so much that it's always important that we talk about it,
elaborate
and go deeper into them.
That's correct.
And so I said the sensitive terms, slavery and slave trade. And I said sensitive because of conversations I've had with people from the diaspora, Africans from the diaspora.
Right.
And I know what that term feels to them. But then it doesn't feel quite the same to me. And it doesn't feel quite the same to me because I had another narrative, and that's a slave trade. What I get from my brothers and sisters from the diaspora is slavery, which has a definition we all know, and slave trade, which connotes a different meaning.
Yes.
Trade being interaction, being a business between two parties. And so it becomes difficult for me to kind of get to the bottom of these things, and that's why it's quite sensitive to me.
Yes.
And I say so, and adding, taking the place you stand by the fence. And it's crazy that I don't know where I stand. It's sickening that I don't know where I'm from. And it's frightening that I don't know where I'm going. And I don't want to go into this now because that would take a whole day.
Elaboration.
Yeah,
exactly.
to elaborate.
And that's why I'm saying, audience, that what we're sharing today should not be done in 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And although we've been at it for a good 15 to 20 minutes now, please be patient and see it through to the end, because it's important. Okay, continue.
Okay. I reference the fence based on your place by the fence. And so I come to a saying that it's saying that before you take a fence, you take up a fence, pause long enough to ask why it was put there in the first place. And I believe that's just the right thing to do, or the right way to go. And so I start by asking some questions. And these questions are, was there a fence in the first place? Who built it? How was it built? What purpose did it serve? Who was it built for? Did it work just as intended? Then come these questions. Did we get to own the fence? In what ways? And to which extent? For how long were we able to leave it before its attack? I wish I can say exactly where I'm going with this, but I just can't. Because to that one question, I keep getting different narratives with no definite answer, most of the time in comparison with aliens, which leads me so lost. This is important to me because I identify as a global citizen. And the only way I found that to be possible is by refocusing my experience with the world and its people as energies, souls, and not bodies, and acknowledging that all is one, and one has in its all light and darkness. I'm thinking about what could possibly be the reason for the rot in the behavior of most African people on the continent and in some people around the world. I'm particularly bothered because lately you hear almost everyone complaining about the same things and claim to be calling for change, but not knowing where to look for that change.
So that's the additional part you've added to it.
Not knowing where to look for that change.
Right. But change is the necessity of what our world is needing and where we're all headed. Because there is a crisis worldwide. And I love what you've said because I see my life in it. Because that fence, the metaphoric fence, it takes me back to a physical fence as a child in Jamaica, where at the time, as neighbors, our fence was flowers that separate us from our neighbors.
Just like we have it here.
Yes. But after going to the Americas when I was young, the fence was actually wooden fences. And it was high enough you cannot see over, but you know your neighbor was there. And there are times in my older years that I've asked, wow, if that fence wasn't there, I could bring a nice dish of my vegetables over and share with you. And see our oneness. And ask you, what are you cooking for dinner? Because it smells so tasty. And I'm Jamaican, so I could share my Jamaican to your, whatever your culture is. So the fence is still there. It's gotten higher. And even here in Ghana, it's electrified. And it's dividing one people. And so it could even go in that direction. Why do I need a fence for my own brothers in my own country?
Why?
With my culture, somewhat in place. There's no, you don't have to ask the question about what tribe I belong to. I know you have a tribe, I have a tribe, and so on and so forth. Your group did not have to go back through the door of no return. But something came to you that made you have to now do that. And oftentimes, well, we don't want to elaborate too much on that because that fence triggers certain things in me. But I see what you're saying, and there is a change occurring in the world. That's just my elaboration on it. But to what is the question? And I agree with you about we are universally one if we see the Creator as the creator of all life. But there's a level of who came first, who came second, who came third. Because in the African language, one tends to do that. You have your name if you're firstborn, secondborn, thirdborn. That plays a very important role. And if you're an inventor of something, if you created something for the first time, that plays an important role too. If you're the only child, that plays an only boy, first boy. All those have relevance to the world as a whole. So it's just to have time and not just chasing the dollar. Because I think this change is going to come by how we see the dollar, how we narrate, how we make a living. Because do you agree that Africa is the cradle of civilization, that life began here?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do. Knowing a bit about the Kemi.
Correct. And so that means if cradle of civilization is in Africa, and the first are here, what's the implication to the changes and defenses and all the evolution to what has become later? Because when we say first and when we say inventors, number one, that has implications. And so I believe if we just say it so loosely, if we don't say it with understanding the substance and the power it brings, when you say my senior brother, my senior sister, that has implications to the lineage and how things are dealt out. So I'm just putting it out there, because maybe I cannot answer it in my lifetime.
Taking what you said by implications, it's taking me to a line in the writing that says, but giving up most of who you are for what cannot be you is like playing 6-6 and lost in the game of Ludo. And I'm curious about the rationale of that law in the game. 6-6 and lost in the game of Ludo. I don't know if you know Ludo. I don't know if you know Ludo.
I've seen it, Ludo. Is that marble that you go around?
That go around, you count.
But I haven't.
And so the dice has 1 to 6.
Correct.
And then you play 6, and then you come out of your home,
right,
and then you play, and then you move.
Right.
Now, but whenever you play 6, you get to play the dice again. You play the dice again when it's a number less than 6, then you get to use your 6 plus that number.
Okay.
When you play another 6, then you keep playing. If you have 10-6,
you're just constantly going.
And you keep going. After that 10-6, when your dice fall off the glass,
right,
the Ludo thing, you can't use it. So then that becomes lost. And you think of how you've had that 6, the skill you needed to get that 6 each time, the flow of energy in life that had to come to you to get that 6 each time, and then you just lose it because you didn't get a lesser number to add to make your 6 valid. You didn't get a lesser number to add to
so the yin and the yang, you needed the yang to balance it out. You cannot just keep the yin going constantly.
Yes, that's one aspect of that thing. But then the other aspect is the fact that you can't be in your power. You have your 6, but you can't use it unless you get a lesser force.
Yes. Gotcha.
Unless you get a lesser force to be part of you, to move, to move.
To show you who you are.
Why is that? Like, you get to think about why is that? And you get to think about, could that be what happened to the African, where you have your 6 going, but then somewhere, somehow, somebody said you can't use your 6, but you need their 1, 2, 3 to add to your 6 before your 6 become valid? Like,
it's like day. Day is only because night is also.
Okay.
And so we know day lasts, there's a certain amount of hours in a day. So you have to move in a certain hasteful way because night is coming.
It's wonderful you use day and night. Makes sense to some extent.
Yes. And the other part I would use is time, when you apply it to an older woman like myself. Time has a magical realm about it. When you're in the beginning, you're laying in bed sometimes all day because you don't understand the power of it.
Okay, yes.
So when middle age come and you realize that, you have less time. So your haste to it, now time is ahead of you.
Okay.
A few steps ahead of you.
Okay.
And you're saying slow down because, I'm moving a little slower. But as you go to an older year, your action with time is, time runs around the corner and hides from you. And you wake up and say, where are you?
Okay.
Time, you're calling it, where are you? And he peeks around and says, come on, I'm in charge now.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the climate to me of life.
Okay.
In order for us to achieve our goal, we must have evil. We must have, who will be the evil one? Who will be the one that promotes whether or not to show you the good in you?
Okay.
To show you what it means to be the first.
Okay, I like that you are bringing that in the cultural setting, because that's the root of this.
Exactly.
So in the cultural setting and amongst people.
Right.
Yes.
So it's going to test the ability of what it means to be the first in creation.
First. Yeah.
The one that was given the most richest continent in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it also asks you to define what is richness.
Yeah.
Is it the items that someone has come and taken from the earth, or is it the people?
Mm-hmm.
And if it is the people, how do they show up their richness?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and wisdom.
Wisdom, and wisdom sometimes. Yeah, wisdom, but wisdom is not something easily given. It's an earned. So I wonder, will a 20-year-old have wisdom? You know,
At that 20-year-old that's in touch with themselves to some extent could push something forward.
There are. My sister and I, as we drove home from an event last night, and on the street, there was hundreds of young men, and maybe you are familiar with this energy, hundreds of young men that are dancing together in the street. The vibration was like, as we drove through, I felt the high.
Yeah.
And so I have to say to myself, that is the power of that oneness, that energy.
Yeah.
That is not tied to money.
Mm-hmm.
It's tied to the oneness of the people and the culture.
Mm-hmm.
And to harness that when the weekday comes, to harness that for upliftment, that, to me, that's going to be one of the important things. It may not be the diamond, the cobalt, the different things that's found in the earth, but it's the harnessing the power of the youth and become one. Because as I go to, in the country of my birth, the young black youths walk with a gun. And the gun is not to kill those that have oppressed them generationally through history. It's for each other. And they will clearly say, this gun is for my black brother. That's what they will say. So, I haven't referred too much of my notes, but my question is, how can that energy that I saw last night and that movement lead to that? Because as you talk to me, I want you to talk to the brothers, the African youths in America that have lost their way, that now believe the enemy is them. Okay. There's an element of self-hatred that has occurred within them. That's a hard one, because I see so much power and love here. You know what we can do? I'm going to decide to close this because it's getting very busy here. And this could be a topic that we follow up on in the next day or two. Okay, so part 2 will be coming up shortly. Asheo, amen.